Hello everyone, today I'll be explaining about panoramic view. What's a panorama? Panorama is generally a wider angle image. The normal cameras that we use don't give a great view field. So using the panoramic cameras which have a wider view angle, like they have wider angle optics, so which are able to capture a much bigger image of the object or scenery. So the normal consumer cameras that we use usually have 50-degree cross 35-degree, human vision 170-degree by 135-degree. Panoramic mosaics are, you can have it up to 360-degree cross 180 degrees. Over here 360 degrees means that we will be able to move in the horizontal direction 360 degrees. In the horizontal direction we will be able to move 360 degrees, and in vertical, like up and down position, we will be able to move 180 degrees. So the first way to create a panoramic image is by using mosaics, that is by stitching the pictures. So what we will be doing over here is we will be taking a camera and will be at a fixed position, and we will be rotating it, and we will be clicking pictures in all different directions. So and then we will be stitching all the images together. So the basic goal of panorama is to combine all the pixels from multiple image and compute a bigger image. So these are different type of panoramas that are possible. So the applications of panoramic images is basically establishing guiding systems. It is used in Google Maps and new places, like in Google Maps. It is even used in virtual reality to give a feel that we are actually in that in that place. For that we will be using 360 degrees cross 180-degree panorama. This is even the future for guiding systems, as you will be able to understand like what is the place and how is the locality and where to go, because it will give you an understanding of the surroundings. Now these panoramic images are used in Google Maps to for showing the place, like for a particular location. They click a 360-degree image and they put it up, so people who want to visit the place have can see what the place is in a 360-degree view. So as I explained mosaic, so what we will be doing over here is that in this reprojection, the sequence of images which are there, we will be taking them and we will be performing composite transformations such that the feature points are matching. And then we are going to shift the second image, like the images onto each other, and then blend the image. So this will create a mosaic or a panorama. So the first kind of panorama that we'll be discussing right now is a cylindrical panorama. So basically what we'll be doing over here is we are going to project each image onto the cylinder, and then we are going to open the cylinder into a flat picture. So what we'll be doing is we'll be mapping the 3D points into cylindrical coordinates which have the parameter theta and h. You can calculate theta using tan inverse x by z and h using y by root of x square plus z square. So you can see over here that the cylinder which is there, we are unwrapping the cylinder and it comes into a 2D form. So this is an example of cylindrical projection. You can see that the globe which is there, we are using the cylindrical projection, and finally we are getting a map over here. You can use cylindrical panorama for 360 degrees also. But the thing is that if the field of view is too big, there will be a lot of distortion. So we have to make sure that the field of view is very narrow to reduce the distortion. So the main problem with cylindrical projection is that the straight lines appear to be curved. You can notice over here that the bridge, which is actually a flat kind of without no curve, like the bridge is without any curvature, but over here after the panorama it has become slightly curved. So this causes a little change in the structure of the images. So next we'll be talking about spherical projection. In spherical projection, we'll be projecting the images onto a spherical surface or an image, and then we'll be unwrapping the sphere to get a 2D image. So we'll be mapping the 3D point onto the sphere using the following formulas. S over here is the size of the final image. Usually we make it equal to the camera's focal length, so the amount of distortion is less. So to project the spherical coordinates onto the flat region, we'll be using image projection matrix to find theta and phi, which are actually the parameters for spherical reprojection. These are the formulas. Theta is equals to tan inverse x by z and phi is equals to tan inverse y by root of x square plus z square. So this is an example of spherical reprojection. The main thing about spherical reprojection and cylindrical reprojection is that we should be knowing the focal length of the camera. The main problem with spherical panorama is also that it is very uneven. You can notice that the images which are there, it will become much denser along the circumference than in the center. This will cause a little distorted images in the panorama. So these are the limitations of cylindrical and spherical panorama. As I said, for cylindrical and spherical panorama, we will be having to know the focal length of the lens. And as I told that L mapping at North Pole and South Pole, that because the pixels will become more clustered at the top and bottom, at the circumference, it will look a little more distorted. And even in cylindrical, the lines become, straight lines become a little curved. So now the another method is by aligning images. So over here, as I told, we'll be using projection. But the thing is that when two pictures are there, and if we only do translational, only translation projection, then it will cause a slight distortion, as you can notice over here. One second. Over here, you can notice that there's a small line which shows the distortion, and over here also there's a small distortion over here. So by this we can understand that translation is not enough or sufficient to create a panorama. So that's why we'll be using perspective reprojection. Over here, what the main thing on perspective reprojection is that in the starting cylindrical and spherical, what we were doing is that we were fixing the camera to a specific point and rotating, tilting the camera. Over here, we'll be taking multiple viewpoints. Like we will be taking the picture from different points, such that there are few similar feature points, so that while mapping the images, it will become a little easier for us to understand where what is there. So you can see there are three pictures over here, and finally using perspective projection we have got the final image. This is also an example. We have used multiple images from multiple viewpoints, and finally we are able with few future points same. Then we will be able to create a final image by mapping each of the image from one to onto another, and this will help in creating the final image. But the thing about this is that we have to understand which are the feature points, and we should be able to trace them properly and align them properly. If the alignment is not proper, then this might also lead to distortion. So this is the mathematical form of creating perspective panorama. The main thing about this perspective panorama is that it will be using 8 parameters. Well, in translational there were only 2 parameters. And if you take affine transformation, affine transformation, you will be getting 4 parameters. So this is the matrix that you'll be using M. M has 8 parameters, and then you will be calculating the coordinates. And then as I said that the mapping should be proper, so for the perspective projection, so we will be using iterative updation, so that the final mapping is proper and the image that we obtain is without any distortions. The main In cylindrical reprojection, the main problem I told was that straight lines becoming little curves. So to overcome that, what we'll be doing is that we will be taking Taylor series to kind of overcome the distortion. Over here, Tx, Ty are used for the parameters for translation, but over here what you have to understand, the translation doesn't mean change in the x and y coordinate, it means change in the angle, the small change in the angle. So these are the basic mathematics that we're going to use. Over here we'll be using the Jacobian series to overcome the distortions. So then right now we'll be talking about rotational panorama. Rotational panorama usually has basically three parameters: the angle about x, y, z axis. So this reduces the calculations when compared to the perspective panorama. As you can see, we are assuming that actually the camera is at the center, I mean at one point, at the origin basically, and then we will be doing most of the calculations. Over here I have given that x is TVRP. Over here T means the image plane translation matrix, V is the focal length scaling matrix, and R is the 3D rotation matrix. T is basically a 3x3 matrix where the matrix is 1 0 CX, 0 1 CY, 0 0 1. V is also a 3x3 matrix, F0 0, 0 F0, 0 0 1, and R is a 1x1 matrix where it is Rij. I'm sorry, R is also a 3x3 matrix where Rij and I is from 1 2 3 and J is also from 1 2 3. As the image camera is at the origin, we'll assume that Cx and Cy is equal to 0. I'm like 0 0, and then we'll be making the calculations. Over here you can see for the deformation over here also we'll be using the iterative m is 1 plus dm, and we have calculated d over here, and you know the d matrix. So this is basically a rotational panorama. The main use of rotational panorama, it reduces the calculation constraints when compared to the perspective panorama because it is only 3 parameters. And it is even much more intuitive when compared to the perspective panoramas. So basic thing what I had told about spherical and cylindrical reprojection was that we have to know the focal length. So to apply these 3D rotational techniques or anything, we should be knowing the focal length. So to find out the focal length, we can obtain the value using the 8x8 matrix in the perspective transformation that I have told. I'll show you the matrix over here. Just a second. Yeah, M0, M1. So what you can make it, it is somewhat related to the rotational rotational matrix, which is R00, R01, R02, F0, R10, R11, R12, F0. R20 by F1, R21 by F1, R22, F0 by F1. So, so using this we'll be able to calculate the focal length. Just a second. Yeah, this is the equation. So what we'll be doing is that the final equation that comes is that F0 square is equal to root of m0 square plus m1 square minus m3 square minus m4 square by m5 square minus m2 square whole root. So what we can do is that because we'll be using many different images, so we'll be getting a lot of focal length. So what we can do is that we can use the medium value for all these lengths for getting the final estimate. So so firstly we have to take the average of f0 and f1 which we'll be getting. So f is equals to root of f0 and f1. This will help us in calculating the focal length. So another main concept of this panoramas is that closing gap. That's the last and final step which we'll be usually doing. The main thing is that with closing gaps, that we've actually created the panoramic sequence and it is actually stitched together, but there is either a gap or an overlap at the end. So to solve this problem, what we'll be doing is that we'll be registering the same image at both the beginning and the end of the sequence. So what we're basically doing is that this, you can notice that there's the starting and this is the ending, but this is end image is not the complete part. So we'll be taking the starting of the image and mapping it to the end over here, like this is the end kind of thing. So we'll be sort of mapping it so that we can get a this is actually usually for 360 degrees view, so that we are able to overcome that overlapping which is there. Um so that's it. Thanks for watching.